Hey friends, thanks for joining us today. If you're currently listening to this, I would highly suggest that you switch to video, or otherwise you might be lost today. Welcome to the Field Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bob McNabb, and today we're going to do something a bit different. If you'll remember back to our last episode, we talked about the most important thing a leader can do, and that is lead your team. But how do you know if you're on the right track with that? How do you know you're not missing something? I was sitting one day during COVID in a park and thinking about these things and reading a book about leadership, and it occurred to me how valuable it would be if there was a leadership model that kind of categorized the most important areas of leadership that we should be thinking through and praying through for those we lead, to make sure that what we're doing for them is both relevant and timely. And as I examined the different models that were available, I didn't see one that had all of the components that I wish were there. And so I ended up creating my own called the Champion Leadership Model. And that's what we're going to look at today. But let's talk about where that name came from. When I was in college, I was discipled by a man named Curtis Tanner, who founded a ministry called Campus Outreach. He often reminded me, Bob, leadership isn't about getting other people to help you accomplish your vision. It's about you helping them succeed at theirs, or helping a team pursue a shared vision. He never used the word champion, being a champion for other people, but that's exactly what he was describing. So let's look at today what it means to be a champion for others in leadership. A champion is someone who proactively advocates for, defends, or elevates others, not for personal gain, but for the other person's success. Friends, viewing your role as that of championing other people is powerful, and it's a deeply biblical framework to view leadership through. Now, the scriptures don't use the exact word champion, but the concept is 100% there, and you see biblical leaders, many of them, doing it over and over and over again. The Bible uses a variety of words and metaphors to describe both the position and the function of leadership. Biblical metaphors include farmer, a soldier, a servant, a mother, a father, a watchman, a shepherd, that's one of the Bible's favorites, a builder, and a steward. And whatever word would best communicate the need of the hour in leadership for that circumstance, that's the one they used. I believe it's always been true that a leader is a champion for others. But the need of the hour in our day, especially in international mission work, is for leaders not to put themselves forward and to take charge, but to be champions, especially for nationals, to run with leadership. Let's look at some biblical examples of a leader championing someone else's leadership and ministry. John the Baptist is a great example of this. In speaking of Jesus, he said, "He must increase, but I must decrease." Another great example of a leader being a champion for someone else is what Barnabas did for Saul. Saul had persecuted Christians, so when he went to Jerusalem and tried to join with them, they didn't want to have anything to do with him. But Barnabas was a champion for Paul. He took him to the apostles, vouched for him, said his conversion is real, and he received the right hand of fellowship. After that, Barnabas went and did ministry together with Paul. He even went and sought Paul out and brought him into ministry opportunities. Later, he got behind Paul becoming the primary leader. You can see in the book of Acts where it used to say Barnabas and Saul. It then changed to Paul and Barnabas. Paul became the primary leader. And then finally, he defended and affirmed him publicly. That's a great example of a leader being a champion. Then Paul became a huge champion for many other people. I just listed some of them on this slide. Let's look at how he championed Phoebe, for example. He wrote to the church at Rome and he said, "I commend to you our sister Phoebe. I ask you to receive her in the Lord in a way worthy of his people and to give her any help she may need from you." That's being a champion for someone else. The champion leadership model is different than some other leadership models that seek to answer the question, what should a leader do? Instead, the champion leadership model is focused on the follower. At its heart is a central question that asks, what do they need most right now to thrive and succeed? Now, that simple shift of focus away from asking the question, what am I supposed to do as a leader, to what do they need most right now to thrive and succeed, can automatically help you as a leader be more relevant and timely in your leadership. Now let's look at the question part by part. It starts off by asking, what do they? That's people orientation, not organization or vision focused. I believe if you will focus your leadership on ministering to, helping, leading the individuals, God will take care of the organization and the vision. What do they need? What do they need? That's pinpointed. It's not just asking, I'm a leader, so what should I be doing? It focuses you in on their needs. What do they need most? Okay, it causes you to prioritize. That's important. There might be several needs, so you have to wrestle with the most question. What do they need most right now? That's a present. What do they need in the present? That brings urgency to it and timeliness. What do they need right now to thrive? This is bringing up the question of personal prospering. You're not just concerned that they produce for the team or the organization, but you're concerned about them as an individual. It's a holistic question. And then finally it asks to succeed, to thrive and succeed. And so it is also bringing up the question of professional performance, which is fantastic. Okay, so this is a powerful tool, just this simple question that we can ask of an individual, of a team, or of an organization. What do they need most right now to thrive and succeed? To help you think through your answer to that question in a way that's systematic and holistic, the champion leadership model breaks the needs of those you lead down into 5 core areas. The first is champion, and you can use the biblical term overseer if you prefer. Then the next is clarity, then competence, collaboration, and care. That's it. It's that simple. If you would regularly pray through the needs of those you lead in these 5 buckets, I believe the Holy Spirit would help you become the kind of leader who consistently meets the needs of those you lead in a way that's relevant and timely. Now, let's look at each one of those areas in more depth. Each one of these 5 buckets breaks down into 4 components. But to make things even more user-friendly for you, we've reduced each one of the components to a simple question. And we've put all of them on this one-page tool that you can use to have conversations with those you lead, to take before the Lord in prayer, and to up your leadership game by being more relevant and timely. Now, let's look at each one of these buckets and the components in them, the questions that come from those. Now, in your role as champion, you want to ask the question, what opportunities do they need? What doors could I open for them that would help them? Next, what obstacles should I help them overcome? They need a clear path, and you as the champion for them could help with that. Then what resources should I provide? Perhaps they need an increased budget, maybe specifically a better computer to get the job done. And then what access do they need? Could you open some doors to help them get some consultation that might help them succeed in what they're doing? And then finally, we want to wrestle through, after we've answered these 4 questions, with the overriding question of what do they need most right now to thrive and succeed? Now, moving on to clarity. And I have to say before we start this one, it's been my observation that if you can help provide the clarity that people need, they'll get the job done. So much else is overcome when people have clarity. So, do they have clarity on our vision? Or are there different ideas about what the end goal is? We need to have the vision clear. What about the values, how we behave? Is that clear to everyone on the team? What about the strategy? It's one thing to know we want to aim for this end product, but it's something else to know, and this is our big picture plan of how we're going to accomplish that. Next, this one's really important. Their next steps. Sometimes people see the end result that we're shooting for. They understand the big strategy, but they don't know what to do this week. And so we need to make sure that they have clarity on their annual goals, their monthly goals, and their weekly action steps. Next, their job description. Everyone should understand what their job description is and what it looks like to be done well. And then what is expected of them. That doesn't always... All expectations don't always come out in a job description, and most of the conflict that we see between people has to do with expectations. And so going the extra mile to have conversations and bring clarity about expectations is a real kindness and a real synergy builder for the individual and the team. And then what resources and authority they have. Do they have clarity on that? Someone might be doing a job and not know that they could tap into certain resources, or not know that they could make a certain decision, or perhaps they don't understand that they can't and they end up getting in trouble. And that's not fair to them if we as their leader didn't bring clarity to the authority that they have. Now, moving on to competence, we're asking the question, what do they need to know, be, and do to do their job and do it well? Are they competent in these areas? So let's look at some questions that will help us work through that. First, are they aware of their weaknesses that they need to strengthen and the strengths that they need to develop? If not, maybe a good 360 evaluation would help, or maybe just some consistent feedback from you would help get them on the right path. Next, do they have a strong development plan and own it? You don't want them to just do a plan because you gave it to them. Involve them in the process of creating the development plan so that they will feel ownership of it and be motivated to work it. Next, do they have a mentor who is giving regular feedback, encouragement, and accountability? It may not be you. It doesn't have to be you. Who is someone who is able to do their job really well and could coach them, mentor them, and help them become more competent in it? If it's not you, then make sure that they have the connection and relationship with the person they need to have for that. Next, are they in a good peer coaching group? The truth is, none of us will ever be fully competent to do our jobs, and that's okay. The way we can make up for that is to be in a good peer group where we can go in and with questions and challenges that we're facing and get feedback and help from other people. That is so powerful. We don't need to overlook the peer group and try to make the person become everything themselves. None of us can do that. So a powerful tool is a peer group. Do they have one? Next, do they have expert consultants and coaches? Sometimes there are experts who could really step in and help. And we need to be humble enough to open up doors for the people we lead to be able to be coached by people who are really good at a specific thing. Let's say you're coaching someone in the IT world and the particular job is not your specific area of expertise. Well, get somebody who is an expert at that to help them. And the same thing goes when ministry. Not all of us, or we're not all a complete body of Christ. If this person is a fantastic hand and you're not a hand, get someone who's good at being a hand to help and mentor, coach, and be an expert for them. Now let's look at the area of collaboration. This is a top-level bucket because it's so important. If you don't give attention to collaboration, it won't happen. And that's why I created the champion leadership model, because in some other models I was looking at, it didn't highlight collaboration. If you want to get to synergy, you have to intentionally think through, pray through, discuss how your team can work together. So let's look at the questions. First, do they have ownership with one or more of their teammates? Certainly you all own the larger vision, but day in and day out, is everybody just by themselves? Or are they actually working and helping? And do they have that sense of shared ownership that gets them doing it? Next, do they have trust in their teammates' competence and feel safe working vulnerably with them? So first, if you don't trust that someone else can do a good job at something, you're not going to really collaborate with them. So we have to look at that. Next, if you don't feel safe telling people, hey, I'm really not good at this, or I'm struggling with this, I need help, that will shut down collaboration as well. And so trust is so important. We have to pray through and have those important conversations. Next, are they leaning into the complementary gifts of their teammates and serving others with their own? It's great to have a team, but if everybody has the exact same strength, that's not as helpful as when we have different strengths so that we can really make up for each other's weaknesses. But just because you have a diverse team doesn't mean that people are experiencing the synergy of that diversity. The question here is, are they leaning into it? Are they taking advantage of the diversity? Next, is there good communication and coordination between teammates? Without this, collaboration never happens. Think about the Tower of Babel. When they were working together, they all had one language. God looked at it and saw some problems with their arrogance and their hardness of heart, and he wanted to shut it down. And so how did he stop the teamwork? He said they can do anything if they can continue to work together. And so he said, nope, we're going to shut down communication. And when communication was shut down, the project came to a halt. Satan knows that. Satan wants to confuse our communication. Communication is necessary for collaboration to work well. How's your team doing? Are you communicating regularly? And then finally, is there any tension or conflict between members? Again, conflict can kill collaboration. And so you as a leader need to be listening carefully at the heart level as you talk with people and prayerfully before the Lord. Now, when we come to the area of care, it all begins with this first question. Am I aware of how they are really doing emotionally, spiritually, physically, and with their family? If you're not aware, you can't help. It's all based on this. Next, do they feel alone? Do they feel seen? Sometimes people don't need a lot. They just need to know that they're not alone. They need a listening ear. They need to hear you affirm that you see them and that they're doing okay, that they're not a weirdo, they're not broken. Sometimes that's all it takes. Next, what actions could I take to shepherd, encourage, and protect them well? This is where you kick into shepherd mode. What does this look like for them? Are they encouraged? How could I protect them? Who could I connect them with that would help them? Next, are they regularly engaging in gospel community? You can't meet the needs of everybody on your team. You just can't. It takes a body. And so the question is, do they have a strong gospel community where their heart is ministered to and they're able to minister to and encourage other people? Next, am I praying for them often? This is something you can do. This is something you shouldn't just delegate. You should be aware of what how they're really doing, and you should be praying. Some of the other things you can call in help for, but you should be aware and praying for them often. So far, we've looked at what it means to be a champion for someone when they're under your care. But what does it take before they're under your care? How do you bring someone onto the team? And what does it look like when they leave the team? And so we're not going to go into depth with this right now, but I did want to point out to you that during the recruitment process, it's important to network and to know people that are available and to keep your eyes open, and then to cast vision And then after you've cast vision, to observe and see who responds, who feels moved by God to potentially join the team. And then you have the prayerful task of selecting. Think of Jesus, who went up to a mountain to pray for a whole night before he selected the people that he would work with. Then after people or when people start feeling led to leave your team, the first thing you want to do is bless them and say, look, it's been great, and I want to bless you as you go out. Sometimes we feel a loss, and sometimes we grieve them leaving. Hopefully, most of the time we feel that, but it's important to bless people as they feel God calling them to go elsewhere. Then you could use your contacts to help them connect with some important resources and build their own network that would help support them in the future. Then to communicate. I feel like this is one I've kind of messed up on in the past. When I've had people move on, I felt like, well, I don't want to seem like I'm still trying to be in their life too much. And so, but that just feels like you don't care. Honestly, stay in communication with people. Then to pray. Keep praying. There's no reason you have to stop praying for them as they move on. Well, there you have it, friends. The whole champion leadership model on one page and all of the components that go with it. But again, this is not something that you have to remember every piece of. We're not cavemen who haven't discovered paper yet. Thankfully, we're able to have a one-page tool that has all the questions right here, and you can download those in the description of this video. So please download the tool. Feel free to copy it and pass it along to others. And if you'd like more training on this, let us know. We can provide you with some training more in depth on each one of these areas and components. Then please do us a favor by liking the video so that others can become aware of it. And finally, subscribe, because we're going to continue to talk about this model and how to use it in your leadership in the future. And we don't want you to miss those videos. Well, friends, thank you and God bless. I pray that this has been helpful.